we're going to find an inverse matrix in this lesson. We're going to be given this 2 by 2 matrix. We'll call it A, and we want to find its inverse. Its inverse is going to be 2 over 41, negative 5 over 41, 7 over 41, and 3 over 41. So the inverse of matrix A is a very interesting set of elements. We find the inverse so that when we multiply the matrix by its inverse matrix, the result is the identity matrix. The identity matrix, in this case, because it's a 2 by 2, is going to be that matrix right there. And we say that that's equivalent to 1. Okay? So in matrix terms, the identity matrix is like multiplying by 1. But what it does is it undoes the original matrix. So when I take these two matrices together, and I take this matrix times this matrix, right? We did that in a previous lesson. The result is going to be a matrix that's the identity matrix. So that's what's happening there. So we're going to be doing this. We're going to be finding, how do we find that identity matrix? Or not the identity matrix, how do we find the inverse matrix? Well, to find, we're first going to have to set up our matrix into two parts. First, on the left-hand side of this vertical segment, we have our original matrix A. And then we have on the right-hand side the identity matrix. So we're going to use operations to make the left side, so the left side of that vertical bar, the identity. So we want to make the left side the identity so that the right side is going to end up becoming the inverse. And I'll show you what I mean, and we're going to see how we get these values of 2 over 41, negative 5 over 41, 7 over 41, and 3 over 41. So let's get started on this. So we're going to use row operations. We've got 3, 5, negative 7, 2. And then we're going to put the identity on the right. And we're going to use row operations to try and get the left-hand side to be the identity. So I'm going to multiply row 1 by 1/3. And that's going to give us 1 5/3, 1/3, 0. And then the second row is going to stay the same. Now I need negative 7 to become a 0. So we're going to take row 1 and multiply it by 7 and add it to row 2. So row 1 remains, and row 2 is going to become 0. 7 times 1 is 7, plus negative 7 is 0. 7 times 5/3, that's 35/3, plus 2, which is 6/3, is going to become 41/3. Then 7 times 1/3, I'm right here, 7 times 1/3 is 7/3, plus 0 is 7/3. And then finally, one that's not going to hurt our brains, 7 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Let me erase that circle. I'm going to erase my work right here. Now I want a 1 right here. So we're going to multiply by 3 over 41. So we're going to take row 2 and we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, 3 over 41. So I need a little bit more room here. The first row stays the same. The second row, 3 over 41 times 0 is 0. 3 over 41 times 41 over 3 is 1. 3 over 41 times 7/3 is 7 over 41. You can see where it's coming together, can't you? 3 over 41 times 1 is 3 over 41. And we're done now with row 2. Now we need a 0 right here. So I'm going to multiply row 2 by negative 5/3. I'm trying to think here about what I want to do with this arrow because I need just a little bit more room. There we go. Okay. I'm going to multiply row 2 by negative 5/3. And then I'm going to add it to row 1. So row 2 is going to stay the same. And row 1 becomes, remember what we're doing is we're taking negative 5/3, negative, ooh, I want that little guy with a, there we go. We're going to take negative 5/3 times this row, and then we're going to add it to this row. Okay, so I'm just going to keep that right there so that I can see that. Negative 5/3 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Negative 5/3 times 1 so here we go. Negative 5/3 times 1 is negative 5/3 plus 5/3 is 0. Negative 5/3 times 7 over 41 plus 1/3. Negative 5/3 times 7 over 41 plus 1/3. I'm going to have to do that off to the side. So I've got negative 5/3 times 7 over 41, and then I'm going to add 1/3. So I've got negative 35 over 123 plus 1/3. Well, this needs a 41. Negative 35 plus 41 is 6. 6 over 123. Well, 3 goes into both of those. 3 goes into 123 41 times, so that would be 2 over 41. Then I'm going to take negative 5/3 times 3 over 41, where our last calculation, and then of course we're going to add 0 to that. So the 5/3 cancel, and we get negative 5 over 41. And now, if we take this, which has now become our identity matrix, look at that. Look at that. It's right there. There you go. So what does this accomplish? The identity matrix tells us that if we were to take 3, 5, negative 7, 2. If we were to take A and multiply it by A inverse, 2 over 41, negative 5 over 41, 7 over 41, and 3 over 41. If we were to multiply those two together, if we were to multiply the matrix times its inverse, we're going to get the identity. This is the identity. This is our matrix. This is the inverse matrix. And when you multiply those two together, you get the identity matrix. So So we're going to do a couple more examples so that you can get comfortable with this, and then we will do a try. We may even need to just do one more example, and then you might feel like you can try the next example on your own. But I'm going to do this in another video. So we're going to break this up into smaller videos. This way, in case you need to go back to one, you can just go back to the video you need to watch and not have one great long video.